So Catherine was released in 2011 for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and has since then been seen as sort of a cult classic in gaming history. It was also developed by Atlus, who are known for making the Persona series, the Megami Tensei series, and the Trauma Center series. Catherine is certainly no turn-based RPG or surgeon simulator though, we instead have a platformer puzzle game mixed with an interactive drama game that you'd see from Telltale. For this review we'll be looking at the 360 version for reasons which I'll explain later. I should explain why I'm even reviewing this game in the first place. Around a year ago I made a video thanking you guys helping me reach 1,000 subscribers, and I explained that whoever made the best anime or cartoon portrait of myself would get to pick the next game for me to review. Unfortunately, no one had sent me anything, so I ended up having to do it myself. With some assistance from my fiancée Eve, who used to draw anime pictures as a hobby, so in a way, she got to pick the game for me to review.
And you've got me to thank for introducing you to Catherine as well.
Well, I already knew a little bit about the game beforehand, but I never really played it until you talked to me about it.
Catherine is a very story-driven game about a troubled young man named Vincent Brooks, voiced by Troy Baker in the English dubbing, who's holding off getting married to his girlfriend, Catherine with a K, who we'll just call Catherine K for the sake of avoiding confusion. But Vincent isn't very committed to Catherine K, and she's usually the one basically telling him to grow a pair, and this really stresses him out. So he decides to go out and drown his sorrows. However, while in his drunken state, he comes across another Catherine, this time Catherine with a C, who's a lot more wild and outgoing than Catherine K, and seems to be the girl of Vincent's dreams, and he ends up kissing her and waking up next to her in his bed.
Vincent's panicking even more now that he's witnessed him cheating on Catherine K, and despite believing that it was all a one-night stand, Catherine C thinks of it as a sign of wanting to be in a relationship. And when there's already talk of stuff like not wanting to live without Vincent or killing him if he's been with another woman, Catherine C has a bit of a loose bolt in her brain. So Vincent needs to try and hide his secret while simultaneously keeping both Catherines apart. At first, you'll probably think to yourself that you can guess exactly what's going to happen with the story as it goes on, but while we won't spoil anything in this video, it does take incredibly sporadic turns as you get further into the plot. Because of this, Catherine's a game best played when you don't have much knowledge of what happens later, and that's especially rare for me to say. The story branches to the player's liking based on the various choices you make between dialogue and actions, much like The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, all represented by a morality meter that changes depending on which option you choose. And it's written almost like a Japanese soap opera, only with creepier imagery, and speaking of which, let's get to that.
Each time Vincent goes to sleep, he continuously has nightmares about the pressures of commitment, such as seeing Catherine K in a bride's dress, or scared of having a baby after she also tells him that she's pregnant. In the nightmares, Vincent will also come across other men in the form of sheep that have also done unspeakable things. Basically, the message is that all men are scum. Vincent's goal is to climb to every floor of the Nightmare Tower before it fully collapses, each ending with a mysterious voice asking a question to the player about their choices in a relationship. And once Vincent reaches the top, the nightmares will be over, as well as trying not to get killed, because if Vincent dies in his sleep, he dies in real life.
In a way, Catherine in terms of both story and gameplay really does connect with men and women struggling in a relationship. As a man about to be married myself, yeah, sometimes it can be hard and rather daunting to commit, and the block puzzles in Nightmarish Tower represent the various obstacles we come across in a relationship. But the game also connects with women because of the fears and thoughts about their partners cheating on them and seeing from the man's point of view, as well as helping adjust the relationship, whether it be to fix their problems or end the relationship entirely.
Like we said before, the gameplay is all about pushing and pulling blocks in a specific way so you can climb to the top. Each floor of the tower has a certain amount of levels to complete, and there are 9 floors to go through in total. Positioning the blocks can be made easier by pushing one against the edge of another block. As long as the block has something to cling onto, you won't need to worry about that block falling. But there are also a number of obstacles you have to go through, like spike traps in certain blocks that cause instant death, or other sheep trying to reach the top as well, but will push you over the edge if you get in their way.
What a bunch of selfish assholes. Shouldn't Vincent and all the other sheep just team up and try and conquer each floor together? That would make things a lot easier, wouldn't it?
We'll team up to find a way out of here.
I don't know you. I can't trust you. No, I'm not going with anyone. I've had it with people trying to trick me.
Oh, okay. Explained, I guess. Well, the only thing Vincent has to defend himself with is a pillow to knock over the other sheep, so it's pretty much a pillow fight to the death with these guys.
At the final stage of each tier, you'll need to engage with a boss stage, where Vincent is being pursued and attacked by one of his deepest fears, like the giant baby we mentioned earlier, and even Catherine C. To make the nightmare segments a little easier, Vincent can collect power-ups to use at your leisure, like adding another block as a helpful stepping stone, energy drinks that let you climb 2 blocks at a time, or striking lightning on other sheep so you don't have them obstructing the way. If that doesn't suffice, then you can also learn different techniques for arranging blocks that may help you for later levels. But if that's no good either, then you can undo your actions a certain amount of times to correct your mistakes, although the hard difficulty removes that feature, so be cautious of that.
So you may be thinking that since the gameplay is all about moving blocks and reaching the top, then this game must be a breeze. No freaking way. Catherine can often be balls to the walls hard. It's certainly one of the most difficult puzzle games we've ever played. It's pretty smooth sailing during the first few nights, but as soon as you reach the 4th night, suddenly there's a massive difficulty spike. And it all comes down to being pressured to find the solution while the level slowly collapses on you, while at the same time making sure you don't die from the enemies, traps, and bosses, as well as making sure you don't get crushed by blocks or fall to your doom.
However, it's the kind of frustration that doesn't make you want to stop playing. Sure, you may end up rage quitting at some point, but you still find yourself coming back and trying again, because you know you can beat that level. That doesn't stop the game occasionally having bullshit deaths though, but there's certainly an addictive nature to this simple concept of a game. But it can on a rare occasion get a little bit too much, particularly when the ice and bomb blocks are thrown into the mix. Vincent will slide all over the place during the ice levels, and the bomb blocks make the surrounding blocks more unstable, so you basically have a number of limited moves. I hate the ice levels with a bloody passion, and wouldn't you know, I just so happened to get these levels while we were recording for this review.
Hey, if it's any consolation, I hated the bomb block levels. You're so restricted as to what you can actually do, and I've had to undo my actions more times than necessary. Once you've cleared a floor in the tower, Vincent will wake up and live another day, where he'll interact with his drunken cronies, look at his messages, and get into more mishaps with the 2 Catherines. At the end of each night, before Vincent goes to sleep, as well as texting one of the girls to adjust the morality meter, he can also chat to any of the customers at the bar, where some of them are actually men you meet in the middle of the nightmares and help make their lives better, just by talking to them. Wow, that's some persuasion skills he's got there. However, if you don't talk to them, then they all die one by one during the nightmares.
All the bar segments really do is let you know how everybody's getting on with their problems. It's not totally necessary, but it's something if you want a little bit more fluff to the story. The same goes for the block puzzle minigame, where the goal is to get to the top of the tower and save Rapunzel. It's just optional stuff.
What the hell is up with Vincent's walk cycle? Is this how I walk when I'm in a bar? This feels kind of uncomfortable.
Both versions of the game are perfectly playable, but if we were asked to pick which one is better from a slight advantage, it would have to be the Xbox 360 version.
I originally thought because Catherine was partly a 2.5D platform puzzler, then the D-pad on the PS3's controller would feel more comfortable, but surprisingly, the Xbox's analog stick gives us better control than we imagined. And now you might be wondering, well, how the hell can the analog stick be preferred to the D-pad in a game like this? Well, moving Vincent left to right and climbing isn't the problem, it's when he's clinging on edges it becomes an issue, because the game can't seem to decide whether or not the controls want to be inverted when he's behind a block or just on the side. And in a game where you have to hurry to the top, and especially during the boss stages when they're trying to squash you, it can cause a few cheap deaths here and there. There are lives in this game too, so you can't afford to die too many times, otherwise it's back to the start for you. But luckily it's quite easy obtaining extra lives, so you shouldn't ever see the game over screen unless you really suck.
Catherine as a video game is sort of an acquired taste. A good chunk of the time feels like you're watching a movie rather than playing a game, but the gameplay is nice and challenging for gamers who like to think outside of the box. And if not for that, it's at least great to watch the story unfold with others and help make choices, leading to one of the game's 8 endings, based on the morality meter. And there's more to play after the story as well, with Babel Mode, containing entirely new levels with a hidden ending. Although you need to earn gold trophies during the story to unlock them, and there's no way to go back to the previous nightmare stages without playing through the story again. But there's competitive multiplayer you can do instead to race to the finish.
Catherine was a rather pleasant surprise for me. When I first saw what the game was like, I didn't think much of it and held it off for a long time, but in this case there's a difference between seeing a game and playing it, and I can safely say that I had a lot of fun playing this game. It also helps that the voice acting is quite good. Troy Baker's as great as he usually is, and the actresses for both Catherines fit perfectly. The graphics and presentation are nicely done as well. The cel-shaded approach was an excellent choice during gameplay and cutscenes, and I always have a soft spot for anime cutscenes in video games. They're all nicely drawn, they feel special whenever they appear, and I look forward to them every single time. It's the same reason I play some of the Tales games. Well, once again, thank you, Eve, for joining me today in this review. Eve?
Go away, I'm trying to unlock Babel Mode.
Well, while she's doing that, it's finally time, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start the Platinum Games Marathon. The first one is Mad World for the Nintendo Wii. I shall see you then. Did I maybe have a turn?
Leave me alone!
What?
I can't keep shaking. We've been going for about 10 seconds. I feel like the Churchill dog, but going the wrong way.
Oh man, that would have been good for the outtakes too if I recorded the audio.
Vincent's goal is to climb to the floor of...
Climb to the floor. How do
Climb
you
to the floor!
How do you climb to the floor?
Go home, Vincent, you're drunk.